Hello, my name is One. Welcome to this tutorial. This tutorial is basically created for Flutter, creating Android apps on Flutter basically. So in this tutorial, we'll be talking about logged in devices, how to set up logged in devices on any application basically, so users can have access to see all the devices that has been signed in with the account, or the account has been signed in on those devices, and as well as how to remove those devices and log out from those devices as well. So on the screen where we have my mouse, so I created this logic under the user profile. So basically, we have the logged in device, and we have this shows the devices that are signed in. So, and this button, which is the logger button on the right, to remove and also log out from that device basically. So what I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you this from the code, how this logic, I did all of this logic to work. Basically, there are multiple ways to achieve this, where you can use either push notification, cloud functions, and the rest to achieve the same thing. However, I created this because I try to find another way instead of using that, to use cloud functions from Firebase or any other thing, to have to create this to work. So we just have to find a workaround instead of using of that. So this here, the first part of the code, is the heading, which I have the logged in devices. So here where we have the main code, this we have OBX, because I use getX in developing this application. So as a state management, this and why I use getX basically is because getX have everything you need out of the box, including navigation and dependency injection, all of that. So that's my preferred state management. You can use any other state management you want, and you can still follow through what I actually did here. So use OBX to listen to changes, and here, which is this part of the code, is we have a user controller. This controller, this is where it's differentiate from the logic from the UI basically. So here we call in the user controller here. So I get an instance of it from to access the user controller on the UI. So if you move up here, you can see I have that created here for the user controller instance. So for me to access that user controller. So back to here. So I call that controller, and error message. So I basically have a variable with rs string for error messages. So this observe any error message we get, so we just display them on the device here. So basically that's what it does. Yeah. So and if there's any error, we get that of the way. Then here we get the list builder. So basically I wrote this list builder to also access the logic from the user controller, and I have the ARS list, which at all the devices, so named link devices basically. So we get the length of all the total items in this variable. Then we create this list style, which display them like this. each individually. So list style, then it created the title which access the link devices, and getting each of the link devices from 0, 1, 2, 3, basically, for the number of link devices for this account. So, and on for the trailing, I added the icon button. So the icon button is this icon on the right. So give it accent red and um, use an icon logout. So this icon sex is a package you can get in um, pop.get. Then use the logout icon. Then the on price here we have same thing accessing the instance, and we have a function or a logic that remove the device. So basically it removes the device. So when we call this remove it, we need to get the current device we are removing at that moment. So we add the index to get the current device which we've clicked on, so as to remove just that device alone. So that's what the UI here is all about, where we get this logic. So the next part, which is the user controller, where the main part of the code which handles the logic of getting this link device. So here, the first part of the code which handles these logged in devices. So I use a package from pop.get. It's called device info plus. So you can just go to popspec.yaml, then you can add the device info plus and the version, and that's it. So when that is done, we can access the device info plugin here. So so we access the device info plugin, then we give it a variable device info. Then based on the platform, if it's Android or iOS, so we're adding this for Android. So get the device info, we call it Android info, using the this function from the package. Then we access the Android information. So we await this device info here, we call that, then we access that logic to get the information we need from that device. So here we just return that information. So here what I did was to get the manufacturer as well as the model. So which we have here, you can see Xiaomi, then the device model basically. So same as for the iOS as well. So we just get to return the iOS info, the machine name, and information basically. If there's any error doing that, or unable to, maybe the device is not Android or iOS, then we just put unknown device. Yeah, so that's to catch any error for any device that we don't have a name. So, and basically the next function here is to get link devices. So before we talk about fetching the link devices, first we need to add our device to Firestore. So not just Firestore, we need to get the actual user which is signed in on the application. The actual user signed in, which we have this information showing up. So we need to get the actual user and create the device which we've gotten and add it to the user account. So logic. So basically we have this logic with this function add link device, and we have a parameter here for user ID. So this way we're able to get the user, the current signed in user, then before we add the device information to the user account. So here we just call the plugin, then we access the logic we created earlier. So we call it device name, then we call this logic, then call in the device info to get that device information. So this where we have get current device name logic, like what we did earlier was to confirm if it's Android or iOS, and if it's not neither, then it just shows unknown device. So here, based on best practice, you need to get log errors or log information for you to track in terminal to know, oh, this is working as expected for testing. So I have this logger helper that shows the device name for user, and also showing the user ID. So this way we're able to know, we're able to get the device name, the correct name, and which user we're getting that device for. So that is sorted out. So first, and we need to check if this device already existed for this user, so as not to have the same device name existing twice on that user account. So we have this existing variable for existing devices. Then we call Firestore, check the collection users. Then we find the user ID, which we have here. Then get the collection, created a new collection inside that user, call it link devices. Then we find where this device name and is equals to the device name which we have already gotten from that device. Then we do dot get. So basically this check, we get this from the Firestore to check if it exists. So if it already exists, I just get the log. Basically I say if it's not empty, if it already existed, then just return this instead of having to add that user to wherever we have there. So and yeah, if the user does not exist in this part of the code, we do the same thing. Then but this time we're not looking for, we just call, we create device name, then put in the device name. And when that is done, we just created a new variable rs list to list all the to list it on the device with that device name. So that way it appears here instead of having to call every time call this information from Firestore. So it just have it already existing as a list for easy listing here. So when that is done, then we'll get info. Yeah, the device added successfully. If there's an error, it just returns the error for us, log the error for us so we know what was going on. So that's for the adding of device. So the next is to remove the device from this list. So since we already have this listed out, so from the remove device, we have this function created, and we have a parameter device so as to get the device information. So first, when user clicks on the logout, which we already have under profile here, so under profile, we just when user clicks on the logout, we get the device here, then we show up this loader. Immediately the user to remove the device. It shows logging out our account from the device and this animation basically. So and why doing that, it checks if there's internet connectivity. If there's internet connectivity, then we move to the next. If not, it just stop the loader, this loader, then return back to this screen. So and if there's internet connection, we just come here, and we have here is I created a user ID for and this user ID is for when we added the device is attached to this user account. So now for us to know that we're removing this device and finding the user before we find the devices from the link devices and then remove it. So this user ID we just already have a variable for user with the RS user model. So this uses the RS user model. So this we're able to call user.value to get the RS type, then call the ID, which is inside the user model. So this way we're able to get the actual user signed in. Then from we created this device doc. So this um, check Firestore for under users, then with the user ID we got to make sure the signed in user ID, currently signed in user ID, then go to the collection for link devices where we have the device name, then is equals to the device. So basically the actual device we are removing shows it and we get that device. So when we get that device here, we just do a for each of the device we're removing from this file store, we just do a variable doc in device doc, which we already called here, so as to initiate delete. First, we get the device here from the devices here, then we check for the right device we're trying to remove. So we await the doc for this device here, then we check the reference for that snapshot, then we initiate the delete. So this will delete it from Firestore. So if we click on this and remove it from the list, if you remember when we created add link device, so we use an RS list. So basically that same RS list, we just check that list, then we remove that device as well from the list. So it's going to remove from the UI as well. So the next logic which we need to also look into is let's say this currently signed in device is a device that needs to sign out. Let's say I'm trying to remove the device which I'm currently signed in. So let me do a quick test so you can see. So when users clicks the first device, which is Xiaomi M2101K7B G, which is the model of the device. So let's try to remove this device. And this is the currently signed in device as well. So when you click on this, it just login out account, then immediately signs you out. So that's what it does. So this way we are able to undo that. This why this logic was created. So basically it signs if it's the current device. So we just get the call the plugin, get the device info, create variable current device name. Then we use the same function which we already created earlier to check if it's Android or iOS. Then call the device information. So immediately will confirm that this is the same device which is the one which is currently signed in as well. We just sign out immediately. Then we stop the loader from loading. Then we call this to say if device is equals to the current device name, yeah, then just log out. So inside our auth repository instance, where we have this logout, there's a function that just when user clicks on logout, it goes off and go to the login screen, and that's it. So if there's an error, we stop the loader, then we display the error, and basically for best practice, also log the error in the console so we can debug. So, and that's it for the remove. So I'm going to sign in again. So to the account. So we go back to where we are. Okay, perfect. So now you can see when I sign back in, it automatically add that device. Now you can see the device which we removed earlier is now showing as the second in the list. You know, it was first in the list because that's the first device that was this account was signed in with. So now when we remove, it signs out and also remove from the Firestore database. So when you sign back in, it adds it's going to add this to the list again. So I'm going to show you how this logic was done in a minute. So, but the main part of this is for us to get add the device, get the device info, and as well as add this to the device. So not to get this long, so let's move on. So I'll just brush through the fetching of link device. So it's still similar with what we've done so far. So with this function, just check the Firestore, and we call the user ID as well. Remember, I said we already have a user RS for user model. This variable user, we have this RS user model. So we're able to call that to get the actual signed in user. Then we loop through this collection of link devices. Then we just get everything, all the device names from it. So what we did here in this nest is the RS list for link devices. So we get the value, then we call the snapshot. We query the database from this and say when you're getting this, instead of calling it here, when you get all the list of devices, where when adding it to this list of linked devices, just get me linked device name. So you list everything and add it into here. So if, as usual, if there's any error, we just get fail to fetch link devices, and that's it. This is undo the whole where we have underscore Firestore. If you're looking, we getting the Firebase instance. So this is what we called here. Then we call rs list string for link devices and added OBS. If you remember in the profile, we have the OBS. Let me go back to the profile. Yeah, so in the profile, you see we have OBS. So if there's any changes, we just listens to that changes, then update this list for the users to see, and as well as the error message. If there's an error, it just lists the error there in the UI for users to see what the error is. So, and that's it for the user controller. The user controller where we have the um, add, remove device, and as well as fetch the device and get the device info as well. So this all this logic undoes all of this logic undoes adding all of this to what we have here in the UI. So now the next question you'll be asking is, so now that we have all of this logic, how are we able to add these devices whenever user signs in on on a new device? Your guess is right, which means we have to call all this function in the login screen, in the login. So here I have my authentication inside the login controller. So what I did is inside login controller, we have the email and password sign in. So I won't talk about the whole logic on signing in. I just want to quickly show you how we're able to add that device. So Now, what we did there is when user signs in, basically confirming Firestore authenticate user is authenticated and confirm the user exists, then signs in, then redirect to the home screen. That what this logic is first. So here we immediately then call add device to link device collection. So we call an instance of the user controller here as well, like we did in other places. So here we call the instance of that user controller. Call the user controller, then we call the link add link device the link device, and you remember the link device has a parameter which is user ID. So we just get this user credential here for the signed in user, then we call the user and get the ID, the UID of that user which is currently signed in. So as it is usual, if there's an error, then we log the error. So for we also have this same logic for Google sign in, which if you're signing in with Google. So this is a bit different from what we have here, but it's quite similar, but different way to achieve it. So basically here we have this auth repository to sign in with Google. So this function and to signing in to Google. So when it signs that user, then we call this to add the user to add the device to that user for that user account. Then this will save the record. Um, Basically, all the information attached to that user, Google sign in, their name, image, maybe phone number, what have you on the Google account. So we need to save all of this information into our own Firestore. So that's why we have this here to save the record. So basically, we add the device and we save it. And when that is done, we just stop the loader, then redirect to the home screen, and that's it. So this is still the same logic we did for sign up, because if the user is signing up as well, we need to do the same when the user creates the account before the user verifies the account. So on the device where the user is doing all of that, we also try to undo that as well, so as to call the we call the instance of the user controller, then we link the device, then we have these user credentials as usual. The user credential here, then we get the UID, so we can be able to make sure that the current user which has been created is the same user we're adding that um, device to the account. So when that is done, as similar to we have with the Google sign in, we call the save user record as well and add user. The user is being created to the database. So this way we are able to undo all of this. So like I said, when user clicks on it, it signs the user account and it removes that user. So I will quickly show you from the Firestore. So this is this is a currently signed in user which we have. So you can see we have a different collection which is link device. Then this is the only device we have here because we signed out from that device. When we click on sign out, it logs the remove the account from that device, or basically sign out from that device. So if I sign back in, you're going to see this immediately adds this back to the list. So you can see now if we go back to where I have this, then you can see the device again showing up. So basically this is how we you can undo your link device. So, and I'm sure the other question is, are we handling the other one or calling to sign out from the other device? So, if the second device on the list is the other device which this account is signed in to, so all we did is to let's sign out to see. So when you click, it just says logging out from device and it removes from the list. You can see because of OBS, it just UI is updated immediately and you can see that device is removed from the list. So now I'm going to quickly do um, try to log in. So basically, when the user on let's say the other device which we just click on to sign out, so when immediately the user clicks on the app, we have this code. Let me show you so you understand all the logic behind this. So we in general binding, we always call the user controller get.put. So that's why whenever we're using, we can see we only call the instance of the user controller. So by default, when you load the application, the user controller is initiated and initialized. So we just get the instance all through the app to access the user information. So now when user signs in or whenever you open the app, this um, binding always initiates at the beginning. So this way, if you sign out from that device, basically, if you sign out on that as we did right now, to sign out on the other device or to remove the other device, basically signing out. So when you go back to open the app, as it tries to open the app, this also loads basically. When you initialize the user controller, immediately from the user controller, it checks if this user exists. So this is where we added this. So we have this logic that fetch user. Yeah. So fetch user record. This is what we're doing here. So when the user is trying to sign in, we already have this fetch user record, which is initialized here. Where we have this fetch user record is initialized on this page. Normally, if you're creating your um authentication, signing in, and all of that. So, which means when the user signs in, we need to initialize to make sure we're fetching the user immediately when the app is opening. So, which we have the same here for this fetch user record. So, what we do is to get the user record and fetch user details normal. So, here, what we did is to now call the fetch link device await the fetch link devices function which we created. So um, after we await to get that, basically calling from the database for that user, so we then added this logic here. So what this logic does is it checks if the name of that device already existed in this database which we're fetching for that user account. So basically we're calling the package, then current device name, the normal logic which we call to get that device information. So what this does is to get the device info again, then check the lists which we already fetched here. Since we already fetched this, so basically we already have the list of link devices. So then we'll call this, it's a boolean for is device linked. Then we'll say if device contains the current device name. You understand that? So here we say if it's not linked. So what this does is if this user already existed there when the app is opening, it still remains signed in. So basically, we're checking for the device info already existed for that user which is already signed in on the app. So, but if that device is not linked, just like we've removed the other device, so what it does is to just call to log out basically. Initiate the logout sequence. You understand that? So that's what this is all about. So when let's say that other device which you've logged out, when if you maybe if misplaced a device or so and so, and you don't want anyone to have access to the app for security purpose, yeah. So basically, when that person opens up that app, immediately it sees that this user does not exist. This device does not exist in the list of devices from the database. Immediately, it just goes to the login screen. It logs out immediately and goes to the login screen. So this is the way we're able to undo this logic so as to avoid using things like push notification because you can use push notification or from for Firebase that's using the Firebase messaging. So which you can create a logic that says if the user is logged out with the name logout, then fire a notification sent to or to that device, then initiate logout. So basically, if the person is signed in on the app while using the app, it signs out. But in this case, since we're not doing all of that, basically you're not open, the user is having access to the device at that moment. So basically, immediately the app is restarted, like you open up the app again after the app is closed on that device. When you open up the app, immediately this logic just try to check if that device name for which you are opening the app for exists. If that device does not exist, it just signs you out immediately. So basically, that person won't have access to your account except if you maybe you save your credential to device. But if all of that is not there in place, immediately the user is signed out. Basically, it's the user have to type in to sign back in with their account. So now I'm going to sign back in on my other device to add that device again to the linked devices. So I signed in. So I'm going to show you. I've signed in on the other device now. So I'm going to show you when you scroll down, you can see now we have that device added back to the list. So this way, if you close the app and open again, it's still going to remain logged in for the user. So unless you remove that user from device. So this basically is what this logic and this has been handled. I hope this tutorial is not long and you're able to understand what was done. If you have any issue, you can leave a comment and then we're going to give you a response on how to resolve it. But basically, when you do this, they should allow users to be able to log out from devices which they no longer use, so as to, if any fraudulent activities to happen on the app, when any person opens that app on the device, it just signs it out immediately. So, so basically, this is a good feature to give to your users on almost every app that has to do with login and logging out so as to protect your users. So that's it for this. So on next tutorial, I'll be talking about the linked accounts, how we're able to um, create this as well. So stay tuned to my channel so as to get this update. Thank you for watching. Think, believe, and develop. Bye.